pipeline.
Joseph Elliott Cruz. Of course I'm going.
A virtual community is a group of people who share common interests, feelings or ideas, or pursue similar goals over the internet. Social media is the most common vehicle for this sharing and interaction. Originally attributed to Howard Rheingold's book, The Virtual Community, which was published in 1993. In it, Rheingold describes the virtual community as social aggregations that emerge from the internet when people continue discussions long enough and with enough emotion to form real human relationships within cyberspace. For whatever reason, virtual communities are built around certain needs and goals. Xerox PARC, where personal computers and local networks were invented in the 1970s, has a sister research facility in Cambridge, England, that fits into this grand scheme for a future virtual multimedia office linking Xerox researchers worldwide. Rheingold visited Europark in Cambridge in 1992 and got a taste of what it's like to extend the network into the video range. One particular scene that fascinated him was a scene when his video monitor switched from a long shot of the common room to a close-up of a young woman. They talked about a document they were working on. While they talked, they also looked at the document on their computer screens. Rheingold looked at the video camera and smiled and said hello. You could see her face as he was talking to her. The conversation was a certain paragraph in her document. It took about 30 seconds. When they signed off, Paul turned back to his advisor. The scene on his video monitor went back to the common room. Whilst in the common room, every 10 minutes or so there was another sound, a clicking sound like a camera shutter. That was a slow scan camera that transmitted a still image across the Atlantic Ocean and North American continent to the sister Xerox laboratory in Palo Alto. These still images were the first stage in what would ultimately be a full video link. Here are some common examples of virtual community types: forums, online chat rooms, specialized information communities, and email groups. These are made up of people who either discuss or share about a common topic or theme. They may also act as a place to ask experts in a specific field for help. In virtual worlds, these people in virtual worlds share the common interests of the world itself. These have become synonymous with often massively multiplayer games like World of Warcraft and such. The social networks would include the likes of Facebook, Twitter, and Google+. And these are the most common social networking hubs, but there are many, many more. They also allow people to form smaller communities based on other interests. Some examples of these other communities in this particular category would be Pinterest and YouTube, for example, which are focused on media sharing. There's also a subculture within this cohort, which can be found on the dark web or deep web. Within this auspicious virtual environment, darknet or deepnet markets coexist alongside commercial markets which mediate transactions for all sorts of illegal activity, and have attracted significant media coverage, starting with the popularity of such as Silk Road. There's also hacking groups and services that have subcultures within their own virtual communities that exist on the dark and deep web. Cybercrimes and hacking services for financial institutions and banks have also been offered over the dark web. Attempts to monitor this activity and gain access to these very, very private virtual community groups have also been offered. One such group that exists within the dark web were the puzzle creators, such as Cicada 3301, and its successors will sometimes use hidden services in order to more anonymously provide clues to play the game, which often increase speculation as to the identity and the whereabouts of their creators. There exists within the dark web emerging social media platforms similar to those on the World Wide Web. Facebook and other traditional social media platforms have begun to make dark web versions of their websites to address problems associated within the traditional platforms. Whatever side of the divide that you remain on, these virtual communities are expanding and getting bigger every single day. Specialist news sites such as Deep.web and All Things Vice provide news coverage and practical information about dark websites and services. Within these forums, masses of virtual communities have gone online. Within journalism, many individual journalists, alternative news organizations, and educators or researchers are influential in their writing and speaking of the dark net, and making its use clear to the general public. Not all of the activity within the virtual communities existing on the dark web is nefarious.